Hey guys, it's Ty from gamesfromthefront.com, and I want to thank you for joining me for another play and learn session for Where Eagles Dare. I've got Scenario 2 set up here on my gaming table. Scenario 2 is another introductory scenario for Where Eagles Dare. It's called Sun with the Wind, and I thought we'd spend a little bit of time going through the game or going through this scenario and play through it together. I first want to thank everybody for the great feedback on the first video. Sounded like many of you got something out of it and were nice enough to leave some comments and some recommendations, so I appreciate that. And it sounds like Where Eagles Dare is one of those games that many of you own, but for one reason or another haven't been able to get it to the table. So we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that together. I'm going to get mine to the table. Hopefully you're going to get yours to the table, and we'll explore this great game together. In this video, I'll probably spend quite a bit less time talking about the rules directly. Certainly I'll be going through or using the rules as I play through the scenario, but I won't be talking about how the game is played as much. So if you're interested in how the game is played from a mechanics standpoint, you might be better off watching the first video if you haven't already. However, having said that, I will try to annotate this video a little bit better than the last one, so you'll be able to follow along with some of the calculations. Anyway, we'll start off by looking at the order of battle for this scenario. We'll talk about setup for this scenario and the way that we're set up on the map and some of the other setup tasks that we have to complete. I'll do an entire walkthrough of the scenario, and then we'll spend a couple minutes in talking about wrap-up. So stay tuned. Okay, here's the units that we'll encounter in the game. Remember, as an introductory scenario, we're probably going to have certainly less units overall than the campaign game. There's also dedicated counters for this scenario that are embedded in a special place or on the first counter sheet of the Where Eagle Dare counters. And so these are especially dedicated or especially made for this scenario, so you definitely want to make sure that you're using the right counters. We have a number of American or U.S. units from the 101st Airborne. We have some German units that will be broadly or generally on the attack in this scenario. And then finally, the units down here on this setup sheet are reinforcements that would come in through certain events. Taking a closer look at these American units, we have 3 bazooka squads, and so these are zero-step units, and I think they're actually defined as squads either in the scenario or elsewhere in the rule book. So relatively small units. They got a very high quality rating at 8, but as a zero-step unit, they're pretty susceptible to damage and quickly exiting the game. We have a Bailey Bridge, which is the primary objective in this scenario. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this is a quick fix bridge in the Sun area. And what's kind of interesting about this as a bridge is that rather than being susceptible to the normal bridge rules in the game, this is actually, as a Bailey Bridge, is actually treated more as a unit. You actually see it's got that single orange circle, which means that it's a single step unit. So it can be targeted as a unit, which is pretty important in this scenario. Also stacked in that same hex, we have this anti-tank unit, this anti-tank company. Frankly, I've played through this scenario a couple times and haven't quite figured out how to best use it. But it's got a little bit of a range, and that's always helpful. We have a headquarters unit, which is another squad unit. It's a little bit better equipped than the bazooka units, or has a little bit better range, but again is a zero-step unit. And then on another part of the map, which we'll see in a moment, we actually have this airborne unit and this tank, which I believe is a Cromwell. And so they're going to be stacked together in a different part of the map. Okay, here are German units. We actually have a couple of them grouped together. We have a Panther tank company that has some piggybacked infantry units. So this infantry unit is actually riding externally on top of this Panther tank company. Piggyback rules are specific to Where Eagles Dare. I believe they're also in the Devil's Cauldron, but they play a pretty important role in that set of games. Also starting in piggyback is this infantry unit is riding on top of another tank. I don't know if that's a tank destroyer. I haven't looked that one up, but they'll be riding piggyback. And then finally we've got this unit, and I was had a good chuckle this morning. You actually have to kind of look really closely or pay close attention. I've actually played through the scenario a couple times, and 3 times, and it wasn't until this morning that I noticed that this isn't a straight-up infantry unit. It's actually an armored infantry unit. And if you look kind of at the bottom of this icon, you'll see an oblong gray shape and a small circle. And that should have been the key that was this is an armored infantry unit, meaning that it has its own transport. And on the back here, you'll see an armored personnel carrier. So mobility is pretty important in this scenario. So the fact that I've missed this a couple times is a little bit embarrassing, but I would argue that it was actually a little bit hard to see. So there are German units. And I won't talk about these too much, but these are units that potentially may enter the game based on the result of an event pull. If during direct combat or indirect combat, anything but assault really, if a player rolls a 9, then they're going to pull an event chit to see if some of these reinforcements come in. So there's some of the 57th Infantry that are German units down here. We have some American glider pilots, and then some American armored units as well. Just a quick note, there is a leader unit for the 57th, but that's more of a kind of a mistake. All units are in command in this scenario at all times, so that leader unit is not needed should the 57th enter the game. Okay, let's talk about scenario setup and some of the scenario objectives. You'll see that I've gone ahead and printed out the scenario map. You'll find some of these smaller maps posted on Board Game Geek. The setting is it's a couple days into Operation Market Garden. It's September 20th. It's late afternoon, and the Germans actually have an opportunity to cut off some of the club route of the 30th Corps kind of ahead of the game, and have kind of set their sights on the bridge at San to do so. And so the primary objective for the Germans is to destroy the Bailey Bridge, which is down here. On top of that, if they can capture or solely capture this hex down here at Noonan, which is currently occupied by some American units, they can achieve a draw. The units as I have them placed right now are in their defined hexes, so that's actually part of the setup. They have to go into certain hexes. The Americans, there's really not a whole lot to think about as far as they're concerned for this scenario. They're pretty much set where they need to be. There is the anti-tank unit, which I mentioned before. One of the rules for scenarios, or one of the options for scenarios, is that units can start mounted and can also start in column formation for free. So I'm actually going to go ahead and start this anti-tank unit in towed position. He's getting towed by a Jeep. I hope to bring him forward a little bit. His range is, I believe, is 3, which is fair. But as I played the scenario a number of times, what I found is it's not quite enough. Let's take a closer look at the German units. So we actually have the Panther unit. Let me take a step back. These German units are actually in simply 2 hexes. I've got them spread out so we can see them a little bit better. But we have our Panther tank company here in the north. He is piggybacked by an infantry unit, so I'll put that on top there. And then one of the scenario rules is that this Panther unit it's mandatory, has to start in column formation, has to stay in column formation, and may not leave any of the road hexes. So he's got to basically stay on this black line that heads down to the bridge. That's one of their targets. A little bit south of that, we have the 3 other German units. As I said before, you optionally can start mounted. So I'm going to take that armored infantry unit and flip it over. And I'm actually also going to place him in column formation. Because I'm going to want to go ahead and use, I'm going to have I don't know if that's overkill or not. Column. Yeah, because otherwise he's only can get 8 hexes. So I'm going to put him in column and get him motoring on that road. And then the other tank, the other German tank, can optionally start in column formation, and he's going to do so as well. So everybody's piggybacked, everybody's in column, everybody's basically maxing out as many movement points as they can get. And then I mentioned the American units down at Noonan. They, by scenario rule, are immobile, so they'll have to stay here. Interestingly, they are on a stronghold hex. Or is that an observation post? I forget. I have to look that up. Which I think otherwise would be interesting, but for this small scenario, hasn't really played too much of a role in the times that I've tried it. But they will be here until they get eliminated. Oh, another scenario rule: if either one of them takes a step hit, they both get removed from the map. Okay, continuing with setup. These are the activation chits that we'll find in the game. We've got direct command chits for the Germans and the Americans. We've got division activation for Camp Grufa Walkthru, and we've got the division activation for the 101st Airborne. So one of the things that's a little bit different than the last scenario is that the Germans actually have their own chits, which was not true in scenario 1. So we actually get to pull for the Germans a couple times. This is a 2-turn scenario, so each of these chits will be pulled a maximum of 2 times. And by scenario rule, the German direct command chit is the first one. So it's actually not even going to start in the cup, where it's going to automatically be the first one that we use. You also see that I've got I've been saying 57th Infantry, it's the 59th. The 59th Infantry Division chit. Should that division enter through an event, then this one will enter the cup as well. Okay, I've got my division charts out as well. In this scenario, we're only using command points, not using dispatch points, the same way that we did in scenario 1. The German division starts with 6 command points, and they have a command rating of 4. And then over here to the right, we've got the 101st has only 2 command points, but also has a command rating of 4. So every time that we pull a division chit, division activation chit, we're going to roll a die and add to that. I will tell you that the Americans don't start off in the strongest position in the first place, and a single poor die roll for adding command points can really cause them some problems. But we'll see how it goes. So the chits are in the cup, and we're ready to play, but I thought I'd take a moment and talk a little bit about what I'm thinking as far as strategy goes. As a two-turn scenario, there's not a lot of time for either side to accomplish too much. We've got two turns, and we've got two chits per side, so think of 4 activations, and within that, each unit potentially moving a handful of times, provided we have enough command points. Really, for the Germans, the Panther and the Northern Hex, they are going to take on the Bailey Bridge, which is the main objective for the scenario. They're going to speed down this road and get within range of the Bailey Bridge. And one of the nice things about the Panther is it's got a range of 4, whereas the bazooka units only have a range of 2. So I think the Panther can get in range on the first turn, and then hopefully survive a little bit and get some shots off at the Bailey Bridge. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with the infantry unit that's piggybacked on top of it. I need to remind myself how many movement points they have when they get a little bit closer, and maybe they can dismount those infantry units. Germans down here in the south, in a similar fashion, they're going to speed down their road and get as close as possible and within range of these stationary U.S. units, and hopefully cause enough damage to get them to be eliminated so that they can take that objective. Conversely, the American units, the bazooka units are well rated in terms of their troop quality, but their range is only 2. Their attack value is only 2. So, I mean, they're only a squad, so I don't know if I'd call them underpowered, but it's good that there are 3 of them because they're going to need to take a lot of shots to take care of that Panther. And then finally, as I showed you earlier, I did put this anti-tank gun in transport mode, so I am going to move him up a little bit, and since he has a shorter range than the Panther, and see if he can get some shots off. I haven't tried that tactic before. The other times I've played this scenario, he's kind of sat back and really been out of the action. So we'll see if we can get him into the action. Okay, it's time for the first turn, and you'll remember that the German direct activation chit is automatically the first chit that's used in this scenario, so there's no need to really pull one. We'll start up here in the Northern Hex with the Panther tank. He's in column formation. He has 15 movement points. That value of 15 is in red, so it's a tracked value. And tracked units can move on roads in column formation at half a movement point per hex. So we can go 1/2 1, 1/2 2, 1/2 3, 1/2 4, 1/2 5, 1/2 6, 1/2 7, 1/2 8, and we'll stop here at 8.5 movement points. Okay, after 8.5 movement points, I end up in this position. I am within range of this bazooka unit, this bazooka squad, but opportunity fire is not triggered until I attempt to leave that hex. I do have enough movement points to go under the culvert, which would normally cost an additional 4 movement points. But again, if I were to move and be within range of this bazooka squad, it would trigger opportunity fire. I don't want to do that. I said earlier that the Panther has a range of 4, and I am within 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes of the Bailey Bridge. So next chit that activates that unit should be able to take some shots. On the flip side, I do not have enough movement points remaining to take this infantry, this piggyback unit, off of the Panther. So he's going to have to stay on there for now, and we're still in column. And that movement of the Panther unit only cost 1 command point. There's no charge for the piggyback unit. All right, so we've got a number of units that are here in this southern hex. Let's start off with the other tank unit that's got a piggyback infantry on it. It's also in column formation. The tank has 13 movement points. They're in red, so they can also go on a road at half a movement point per hex. So let's go 1/2 1, 1/2 2, 1/2 3, 1/2 4, 1/2 5, 1/2 6, 6.5. Puts them there, and they're 3 hexes away. Zoom in on that situation. All right, so they're 3 hexes away from the American stationary units. That tank has a range of 3. He has not enacted or activated opportunity fire. And so to get to this point, he's spent 6.5 of its movement points. And to disembark a piggyback unit, it does cost half of the vehicle's movement points, which is exactly what I have left. So I can take this infantry unit and take him off of piggyback. So I'll kind of put him, he's in this hex, he's not in column, but I'll put him off to the side so that we can see him. And that is also going to cost me 1 command point, so I'm down to 4. And then finally, for a third and final command point, I'm going to issue a movement order for this APC who's in column formation. He's a tracked vehicle. He has 16 movement points. He's going to go 1/2 1, 1/2 2, 1/2 3, 1/2 4, 1/2 5, 5.5 6. He's going to drop out of column for 7 and go into this same hex with the other units for 8. He's going to stop there so he doesn't trigger opportunity fire. The stacking limits are such that you can only have 1 unit in column formation, so that's why I switched him out of column formation. And then you can have up to 4 units that are not in column formation. So by abandoning the column formation for the APC, it allowed me to move into this hex. So the tank, the APC are in range, although I will admit the APC's got a poor attack value. He'll probably want to close, and we'll end the first chit in that location. Let me maybe give everybody a little bit better view of this. So here's the ending position. We got other German units here, and then the immobile US units here. Okay, now we do our first true chit pull of the game. We're still in turn 1. Going to mix them up, not looking. And I pull. Alright, so the US direct activation chit. So this is kind of an unfortunate pull for the US. They don't get an opportunity to generate any additional command points. You might remember that they start the scenario with only 2. And so basically I get to take a single action with 2 different units if I want to spend both of those command points. So I think I'm going to focus up here over near Son, and I think what I have in mind is 2 things. First of all, I'm going to move in the anti-tank unit, anti-tank gun, and dismount with a little bit closer range, and then also take a shot with the bazooka unit that's closest. So let me start with the bazooka unit. I'm going to spend a command point and issue an attack order, attack command. It's going to be a direct attack using the white or dual purpose attack value of 2. He's going to attack the Panther tank, who is in column. And so let's do a couple quick calculations. The first thing I can do is I can check to see if I make a company bonus. So I need to do a troop quality check of 8 or less, and I rolled a 9. So failed the troop quality check. So I'm going to start off with this value of 2. The Panther is in open terrain, so there's no terrain modifier. The range is 2 against an armored unit, so the last hex is a -2 value if you're attacking an armored unit. The defense value is a -4, so we're down to -4. And I think that's all the modifiers. So really I can only hit on a 0. And so let me give that a quick roll. And I rolled a 7. So the bazooka misses. And like I said, really at the outset when I was looking at the order of battle, the bazooka's squads, they seem to be good units. They're numerous, but they're going to have a tough time. They're going to need a lucky roll, but maybe they'll be able to pull that off. Alright, so for the second command point, like I said, I'm going to move this anti-tank unit. He's simply going to stay in non-column formation. He's going to move along what is clear terrain along this road, but not using the road. And it's going to cost him, I believe it's, let's see, regular, so it's 3 movement points for each hex. He goes 3, 6. And then he can spend half of his movement points, or total movement points, which would be 9, to dismount. So I'll flip him back over. Oops, I moved the Bailey Bridge. Let me put that back. And now we've got this anti-tank unit here. And that wraps up that activation chit. Okay, that US activation was pretty uneventful, but let's do another pull. We've got 2 chits left for this turn. Mix them up and pull it. And got the German division activation unit. Okay, so when we pull a division activation unit, you'll remember from the last video, we're going to generate some new command points. So I'm going to roll a single die. I'm going to divide it by 2, but I rolled a 0. And then I'm going to add the command rating for the unit. So the command unit for the Camp Group Walkthru is 4. So I'm going to add 4 to its existing 3 command points, and that's going to put me at 7. Which actually isn't too bad, although that was a pretty horrible roll. Okay, with a division activation chit, I get to take 2 actions with each unit in the division. The first action is free. However, that first action is from a somewhat limited set of actions. So I can move for free, but I can't move into an enemy fire zone. You can't fire, you can't assault. You can only take an engineer action as your first action. So again, you can't just do anything for free, but there might be a couple things that I want to do here. So let's start off down here in the southwest, down near Noonan. And got a couple units in this, German units in this stack. Let's start with this armored personnel carrier. As I said before, he can move as a first action, but he can't move into a enemy fire zone. So I'd like to have him close the range here, but he can't do that as a first action. So he's going to pass for his first action. I'm going to spend a single command point, which takes me down to 6, which allows this unit to take a second action. So for the first move, he's going to move down here into the village, but doing so triggers opportunity fire from these American units. So I need to check, do a troop quality check for each of the units to see if they can take an opportunity shot at this moving APC. So let's do the tank on top of the stack. Troop quality check 5 or less, and he gets a 5. So he can take an opportunity shot. And then for the paratrooper, he actually has a range of 0, so he cannot do so. So let's do the opportunity check here. You remember opportunity fire takes place in the hex from which the target was moving. so that's a range of 3. You cannot do a company bonus check in opportunity fire. But let's start off here with this 6 attack value. The terrain, he's in a village, so that's -1. That takes it down to 5. The range is against an armored unit, and that is at its maximum range. That's another -2. So that takes us down to 3. The defense rating is 0 for that APC, so we stay at 3. And we've got 2, 4, 5 steps. So there is a mass rating effect of +2. So we're back up to 5. No markers. He's not in column. So we're at a 5 as the target value. We roll a die. And I get a 2, which on my terrain effects against an armored unit for dual purpose attack is suppression. Okay, with a suppression result, I do have the opportunity to try to turn that into a cohesion hit. The advantage of doing so is that it allows me to continue my action. The negative side is that a cohesion hit takes me a little bit closer to being eliminated. So to make that switch, and with such a short scenario, it probably makes a lot of sense to try to change that to a cohesion hit. So I need to make a troop quality check of 3 or less. And I rolled a 1. Oops, knocked that over. And so this suppression becomes a cohesion hit. All right. So I do make it into this hex as a tracked unit moving through a village. That cost me 4 movement points. And I want to go 1 more, which enables another opportunity fire check. So again, we're at a range of 2. The U.S. tank needs a troop quality check of 5 or less, and he gets a 6. So he fails, and I make it into this adjacent hex with the German APC for an additional 4 movement points. So I've spent 8 of 16, and to dismount I can spend half of my initial movement value of 16, which takes me down to 0 movement points, and now my infantry is adjacent to these American units, and I do have a cohesion hit. So all of that for 1 command point. Quick check of the rules off camera there. That dismounting action for the APC does trigger an opportunity fire check. So we're actually at a range of 1, and so this paratrooper unit for the U.S. actually gets a check as well. So let's start off with the tank unit. Opportunity fire check, 5 or less, 0, so he was successful. And then the paratroopers, 4 or less, troop quality check, 2. So they both get to conduct opportunity fire. So let's start with the tank unit. Let's see. We're actually still in a village hex. So no company bonus check in opportunity fire, but we'll start with the 6 attack value. The terrain value or terrain modifier for village is -1, so that takes us down to 5. Now we're attacking a infantry unit at 1 hex. There's no modifier there, so we're still at 5. The defense rating for the infantry unit is 0, so we're still at 5. There's no mass modifier, and there's no modifier to the defensive value of the German unit. So I think we're still at a total of 5. Oh, one additional adjustment for opportunity fire, moving from fire zone to fire zone hex, is +3. So we're actually at a total of 8 for this tank unit. And let's see how we do with our roll. And that's a 4. So on the dual purpose attack against an unarmored unit, a 4 is a cohesion hit. So we can simply flip this marker over, and we actually now have 2 cohesion hits. All right, let's check for the paratrooper. Starts with an attack value of 4. Shooting into village is a -1. That takes us down to 3. Range of 1 is no modifier. No defensive rating modifier from the German side. No mass modifier, and fire zone to fire zone is +3. So we're at a 6 is our target value. Let me roll a die. And I rolled an 8. So that's a miss. So again, all of that for 1 command point. Okay, I'm going to spend another command point, but this time instead of moving, I'm going to do a ranged attack with this German tank unit against units in this hex. These are village hexes. Village hexes are not blocking terrain. This is a city hex. So I'm going to start off, I think I'm going to be a little bit better shape if I attack or try to attack the paratrooper unit, since it's only got a -1 modifier for its defensive value. So let's see how we can pull this off here. So start off with this 6 value as a starting point. I get to, as a direct fire, I do have the opportunity to do a company bonus. I could roll for it, but with a troop quality of 3, I don't think I have a very good shot. So I'm actually going to spend another command point to make that bonus automatic. So that's +2. So 6 + 2 is 8. The terrain for a city hex is -3. So that takes me down to 5. The range against an unarmored unit is -1 for each additional hex beyond the first. So that's -1, 2. So that takes me down to 3. No -1 defense rating from this unit. So that takes me down to a 2. And I think that's everything. So 0, 1, or 2 is what I'm looking for. And I rolled a 3, and that's a miss. Alright, so I think I'm done here down near Noonan. Alright, so what are the Germans going to do down here in San? So, like I said in the last activation, I moved within range. I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes away from this Bailey Bridge. One thing to remember about Where Eagles Dare is that enemy units do not block line of sight, and these are all open hexes. You'll see the white dots. So I do have line of sight, and I am in range of the Bailey Bridge. So let me see if I can take a shot. So I need to spend a command point to activate the Panther. Just kind of show his, move those counters so I can see his values. Direct fire, I'm starting off with an 8, which is white, or in the white box. It means it's dual purpose. I'm going to take a try to get a command bonus. This is a very important shot, so I'm going to spend another command point to make that command bonus automatic. So that's +2. So I'm up to 10. Need to check the terrain that the Bailey Bridge is in, and that looks like a village to me, so that's -1. That takes me down to 9. Range is -1 for each hex beyond the first. So that's -1, 2, 3. So I'm down to 6. Defensive rating of the Bailey Bridge is +1. That takes me up to 7. There's no mass modifier. And the unit is still in column. The Panther is still in column formation. So that's a -1. That takes me down to 5. So 0 through 5 is a hit. And we'll see what happens. 3. Alright. So I need to cross-reference dual purpose against an unarmored target. That's a 3, which is a cohesion hit. So I don't know if that really has any effect in this game other than piling on the cohesion hits. I think eventually that would count as a step. Okay, we're down to our last activation chit for the turn, and obviously it's going to be the 101st Airborne. So let's see if we can generate some command points for the 101st. We'll roll a d10 and divide it by 2, rounding down. Ooh, 9. So that's 4 command points, plus its command rating of 4, which is going to give us 8 command points, which is going to be very helpful for the Americans. Alright, so how are we going to spend those? Let's start down here near San. Okay, so it looks like a pretty good opportunity to use this anti-tank unit. It's going to be a direct fire against this Panther unit. That's going to cost me 1 command point. I'm going to spend a second command point to make my company bonus automatic. So let's start off with this dual purpose attack value of 4. The company bonus takes us up to 6. The Panther is in open terrain, so there's no modifier there. The range for against an armored unit, he's 2 hexes away, so that's not the maximum and it's not the minimum. So that's a -1. So we're down to 5. We've got the defense rating of the tank, which is -4, which would take us down to 1. And then, however, the Panther is still in column, which takes us column takes us +2 for that 1, for a total of 3. So it looks like my target value is 0 through 3, and I rolled a 1. So that's dual purpose against armored units. For 1 is suppression. So that's not going to be very useful in the second turn. So I'm going to try to see if I can turn that suppression into a cohesion hit for the Panther. Makes a troop quality check, 4 or less, and I rolled a 6. So that fails. So that could be a lot of trouble for the Germans. They'll get a rally attempt, but given a lot of factors, it's going to be tough for them to do anything about. Now I do need to take a step back, and I almost forgot about this. This infantry unit was piggybacked on top of the Panther, and so they can actually receive some damage as well. So we actually do basically the way it works is that you use the same roll against both units. So you might remember I rolled a 1, but the calculation is against this infantry unit who is counted in column. So this is how you do it for piggyback units. So we'll start off with this 4. I got the company bonus, which takes us to 6. The range against, there's no terrain modifier. The range was 2 hexes, so that's a -1 modifier. So that takes me down to 5. The defense rating of the infantry unit is 0, so I'm still at 5. And then the column modifier is +2, so that takes us up to 7. So a 1 for dual purpose against an unarmored target is eliminated. So goodbye to this infantry unit. Just a friendly reminder, it's not always a good idea to ride on the outside of tanks. Okay, what else can the Americans do down here near the bridge? You remember we have this bazooka unit here in this hex. We might as well go ahead and take a direct shot, direct fire attack against this Panther. A little bit of a longer shot, but we'll see if we can pull that off. That's going to cost me 1 command point, which takes me to 5. And I will spend a second command point to make my company bonus check automatic. So I'm going to start with a 2 as my attack value. Company bonus takes me up to 4. The Panther is in open terrain, so I stay at 4, no modifier. The range is 2 hexes, which against an armored unit is -1, so it takes me down to 3. The defense rating of the target is -4, so that takes me down to -1. But I do have a number of status markers. -1, he's still in column, so that's +2. So the total is 1. And I think that's everything. So a 0 or 1 is what I'm looking for from this bazooka unit. And rolled a 5. So that's going to be a miss. Yeah, kind of a long shot, but probably worth it. All right, let's take a closer look at what's going on down here in Noonan. Let's see. We've got our U.S. units here. I think under most normal circumstances, this might be a good opportunity to do an assault into this hex, considering I've got force volume and I've also got an armor unit. But in this scenario, as I've said a couple times, these U.S. units are static. And I think one of the requirements for an assault is that you actually have to be able to move into the hex that you're assaulting into. So we'll do some straight up direct fire. First of all, the Easy Company here doesn't have a range beyond 1. So let's start off with him conducting a direct fire small arms attack against this tracked infantry unit. This is going to cost you 1 command point. That takes me down to 3 command points. Command points are starting to get to be at a little bit of a premium for the U.S., so I'm not going to spend a point to make my company bonus automatic, so I'm going to roll for it. I need to pass a troop quality check of 4 or less, and I rolled a 2, so that troop quality check passes. So starting with a fire value of 4, adding the troop bonus, or excuse me, company bonus of +2 takes me up to 6. The target is in a village, which is a -1 terrain modifier down to 5. The range is 1 hex, so there's no modifier there. And let's see, defense modifier for the target is 0, so I'm still at 5. There's no status markers that affect anything in this case. And so yeah, 5 or less. Small arms roll against unarmored. And I rolled a 0. So that's a hit. Let me cross reference, and that is a cohesion hit. So the German unit is actually already at 2 cohesion hits, and so a 3rd cohesion hit is actually a step loss. This is a single step unit, and so it is eliminated. All right, what else can we do? Let's take a look at our armored unit. I'm going to spend another command point, which takes me down to 2. I guess I should point out we're still in the division activation state. We pulled this 101st Airborne, so technically these are all second actions. I guess potentially I could have done some engineering actions and perhaps done an tried to make an improved position, but haven't done so. So these are all second actions. This is going to be a direct fire from this U.S. armored unit, and he is going to target yeah, that armored unit's pretty, oh, these are piggybacked, right? So, oh no, he came out of piggyback. So he's actually going to target the infantry unit in that hex. It's going to give him a little bit better opportunity. So this is a direct fire against an unarmored target. He's going to check for a company bonus, 5 or less, and it's a 4, so he succeeds. So he starts off with a fire value of 6. Company bonus of +2 takes him up to 8. They're in a village hex, which is a -1 modifier, so it's down to 7. Range against unarmored would be 0, -1, -2. So that takes me down to 5. Defense rating of 0. So I'm still at 5, and no mass modifier and no other modifier. So the target number is a 5. And I rolled a 2 on small arms, dual purpose against an armored. And that is a suppression result. Let's see if the German can turn that into a cohesion hit. And that's a 3 against his troop quality rating of 4. So he does successfully change that into a single suppression hit. All right, that's the last actions within that activation chit. And so that's the end of the first turn. We would normally advance the turn marker to the next turn, and also we have an abbreviated sequence of play in this scenario. And at the beginning of this turn is when any reinforcements would arrive, and reinforcements would arrive in this scenario via events. We haven't pulled any events, so no reinforcements arrive, and really for all intents and purposes, if any were to be pulled now, it really wouldn't matter. It's just too late in the scenario. But all of the chits go back into the cup, including the German activation chit. So now we've got 4 chits in my cup. I'm going to mix it up. And let's pull one. And U.S. activation, which is probably not, U.S. direct command, which isn't all that great for them because they're pretty thin on command points, but let's see what we can do with them. Let's start over here at San. Honestly, it looks like the Germans are in pretty tough location or tough spot in both San and Noonan, but we had a lot of success, or some success at least, with this anti-tank unit last turn. So I'm going to go ahead and spend a command point, which takes me down to 1 command point remaining. I'm not going to spend to... he's going to do a direct fire against the armored unit. I'm not going to spend to make the company bonus automatic, but let's see if I can make a troop quality check to get the company bonus. And 7 is higher than the troop quality rating of 6, so he fails that. So let's see what we can do here. We've got fire value of 4. We're against an armored unit. Failed the troop quality, the company bonus. He's in open terrain, so it stays at 4. The range is 3. The range is 2, which is less than the maximum, so it's going to be a -1 modifier. So that takes me down to 3. The defense rating of the tank, the German tank, is -4, so I'm at -1 overall. And beyond that, I just think the unit status marker column is a +2, so that takes me to an overall +1 as my target value. And I rolled a 5, so that fails. Alright, I don't think anybody is going to have a better shot at that tank, that armored tank unit, so I'm going to switch down to Noonan for my, my other activation. Okay, back down here on Noonan, I've got 1 command point left. I'm actually going to spend that to do another direct fire attack. I guess last time I did it at the infantry unit, so maybe let's try that again. So I'm down to 0 command points for the U.S. I'm going to do direct fire at the infantry unit. It's going to be dual purpose against an unarmored target. I'm going to start off by rolling for the company bonus. And I rolled a 3, which is less than the 5, so company bonus is in effect. So fire value of 6, +2 for the company value is 8. I checked earlier, they're in a village, which is a -1 terrain modifier. The range is 1, 2, 3, which is the maximum. Or I guess no, this isn't against armored, it's against unarmored units, so -0, -1, -2, which takes me down to an overall of 5. Defense value of 0. There's no modifier, and there's no defensive modifier for the cohesion hit, so like last time or thereabouts, the 5 is the target value. I'm going to roll, and I get a 7, so that fails. Alright, so I'm out of command points, so basically the American turn is done. And let's pull another chit. Alright. I got the division activation chit for Camp Group Walkthru, and let's see what I can do with that. Alright, with that division activation chit for the Germans, the first thing I need to do is generate command points. Roll a d10. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, rounded down is 1. And their command rating is 4. So 4 plus 1 is 5. On top of the existing 2 command points I have, takes me up to 7. So I have 7 command points for the Germans. Time to take first actions. Rally is a free first action when you pull a division activation chit. So I'm going to rally, try to rally this armored unit. Normally that would require a troop quality check, which would be modified by the suppression unit, but you can spend a command point to make that automatically successful, so I'm going to do so because that's a pretty important unit. So that takes me down to 6 command points and removes that suppression result. So that's his first unit, his first action. And for the second action, I'm going to do direct fire on the Bailey Bridge again. I'm starting to wonder if mathematically I can pull this off in a turn or two, but I really am concerned that kind of moving forward to reduce range is going to really open me up to too much opportunity fire. So let's see what happens here. In the second action, the direct attack is going to cost me another command point, which takes me down to 5. I'm going to actually spend another one to automatically pass my company bonus check. So that's going to take me, that's going to give me +2. So starting with the fire value of 8, +2 for the company bonus. This unit is in a village, which is a -1, so it's down to 9. The range against an unarmored unit is -0, -1, -2, -3, which takes me down to 6. The defense rating of the target is +1, which is up to 7. And I think the last modifier is I'm still in column, which is a -1 to my fire value, which takes me down to 6. So 6 or less for dual purpose against an unarmored target. And of course, I rolled a 7. All right, so that's not good for the Germans, of course. All right, let's see. First action for these German units. Let's start off with the rally attempt on this infantry unit who's taken a cohesion hit. I need to retain some of my existing command points. I'm down to 4, so I have something for them to use during the next pull, which would be a direct command. So I'm just going to roll this straight up. I need a 4 or less. Yeah, there's no modifier to the troop quality check, or the troop quality rating. And a 7. So he fails that rally attempt, so he retains that cohesion hit. Let's see, he's not going to do very much good right there. So for his second action, he's going to simply move. He's got 4 movement points. He's not in column. And he's going to attempt to move into this hex, which is going to cause some opportunity fire potential from this armored unit. So let's take a look here. First thing he needs to do is pass a troop quality check, 5 or less. And I rolled a 6, so that fails, and the infantry unit makes it into this hex. Going into a village, leg unit cost me 2 movement points in my 4, and he's going to attempt to go into this next hex. And pretty much the same thing. Let's check opportunity fire potential from the armored unit. And he passed it that time. All right, so I rolled a 1. If you can see that. All right, so the armored unit can conduct opportunity fire against this infantry unit. It's in the hex that he was coming out of. All right, we start with the fire value of 6 for the armored unit. He's firing into a village, which is a -1. It's down to 5. Range versus unarmored. The target hex is here, so that's 2 away, so it's another -1. So that'll take us down to 4. The defense rating of the German is 0, so we're still at 4. And let's see, last thing. Oh yeah, he was moving fire zone to fire zone, which is +3. So it's up to 7. And all right, I think that's all the modifiers. So let's roll D10, 7 or less. And got a 5. So that's dual purpose versus unarmored. 5 is a step loss. All right, so this is a 2-step unit. He flips over to 1 step and retains that cohesion hit, and then makes it into the next hex. All right, it's a tough decision time for the Germans. We're kind of running out of command points. We're running out of time. I think I only have a really long shot. I don't even know if it's possible with this armored unit. Remember, if either one of these U.S. units takes a step loss, then both of them are removed. And I need to do that really if I'm going to occupy this space with this German unit. Anyway, long shot, but war is war. So let's take a look here. I'm going to do a direct fire attack. A direct fire attack from this German armored unit against Easy Company. So it's going to cost me 1 command point. He's got a pretty poor or low troop quality rating, and this is a pretty important role, so I'm going to spend another command point to ensure that I pass my company bonus. So starting with a value of 6, fire value of 6, company bonus is +2. Let's see, he's actually in a town. Oh, that's tough. So 6 + 2 is 8. Terrain modifier of -2 takes me back down to 6. The range against unarmored is -0, -1, -2, which is down to 4. The defense rating here is a -1, which takes me down to 3. Yeah, this is getting worse and worse. And then I think the last modifier is he's still in column, and that would take me down to 2. So he may hit, but he's not going to be able to get the damage that he wants if you look at the combat result table. But let's roll it. And I rolled a 3, and so that fails. All right, so let me clean up my map here a little bit. And yeah, that's all the German units. So that ends their activation. All right, time for another activation chit. We've only got 2 left. I mix them up, and I'm going to pull. All right, the 101st Airborne Division activation. And as usual with the division activation, I need to generate some command points. This is good news for the Americans who are out of command points. And let's see, 8 divided by 2 is 4, plus their command rating of 4 gives us a total of 8 command points. Just the chart. All right, let's start over here in San with our anti-tank unit. For his first action, he's going to pass, and for his second action, he's going to take a direct attack on the German Panther. So that's going to cost him a single command point, which takes me down to 7. He is going to spend a command point to ensure the passage of the company bonus. And so let's calculate this out. I'm going to start with a fire value of 4. Company bonus takes me up to 6. He's in open terrain, so no modifier there. Range is against an armored unit, but not at maximum range, so it's -1, which takes me down to 5. The defense rating of this unit takes me down to is -4, which takes me down to 1. And then this last modifier is he's still in column, is +2. So my final value is 3, dual purpose attack against an armored unit, and that's a 4, so that misses. And then I think I'll do the same thing with this bazooka unit, very much like I did last turn. So it's going to cost you 1 command point, which would take me down to 5, and I'm going to spend 1 command point to ensure that the company bonus passes. I might as well go ahead and try to spend all my command points since this is the last activation. So fire value of 2, company bonus takes me up to 4. Open terrain or clear terrain is no modifier. The range is, let's see, against armored, that's a maximum range for the bazooka, so that's -2. It takes me down to 2. -4 for the defensive modifier, so that's -2. And +2 for the column value takes me to 0. So really a 0 is the only thing that's going to do me any good. And I rolled a 7, and so that's a miss. I think that's really all I can do in San. These guys are out of range. And that's pretty much it. Alright, I'm back down here at Noonan, and down to 4 command points, so really I'm going to try to spend all these for the US. Let's start off with a direct attack from Easy Company onto this German unit. That's going to cost me 1 command point. I might as well spend the second one to ensure my company bonus passes, which takes me down to 2 remaining. And I'll spend those on the armored unit in a moment. Direct attack, small arms fire. We start off with a fire value of 4. Company bonus takes me up to 6. He's in a village. Terrain modifier -1 is down to 5. Range is no modifier since he's adjacent. And then, let's see, defensive value of 0. So I think the final target value is 5, small arms versus unarmored. And rolled a 1, which is a possible suppression. So let's see if he passes a troop quality check. And I rolled a 4, which is higher than the troop quality check of 3, so he picks up a suppressed value. Let's see, if he's suppressed, that's not good, so he's going to try to change that to a cohesion hit. Again, needs to pass a troop quality check. And roll a 6, so he fails, and so that unit is suppressed, or remains or retains that suppressed value. All right, and then the last action for the Americans. Armored unit is going to attack this armored unit with the direct fire. He's going to spend 1 command point. Takes me down to 1. He'll spend the last one to ensure his troop quality company bonus check passes. And so we're going to start off with the 6 fire value. Company bonus takes us up to 8. He's in a village, so that's -1. It's down to 7. The range is 1, 2, 3, which is maximum against armored. So that's a -2. So it's down to 5 is my running total. Defensive rating for this armored unit is -4, so I'm down to 1. And then I think the last modifier is he's still in column, so that's +2. So my target value is 3 or less. Dual purpose against an armored unit. And I rolled a 5, so that fails. So that's the end of the American activation. That's their last chit, so they're pretty much done for this game. And just for the record, let's pull out the last chit, which is going to be German direct command chit. And unfortunately for the Germans, they are down to their last 2 command points. And they're really not going to be able to make a difference down here in Noonan, because all they could try to do is, I mean, he's suppressed, and he's too far away to take this hex, which would be a monstrous undertaking anyway. So let's shift up to San. Alright, I think I really only have one play here. I don't even think mathematically it can make a difference, but let's play it out. The Panther is going to take another direct attack, direct fire attack on the Bailey Bridge. It's going to cost him 1 command point, which takes me down to 1. And then he will spend the last command point to ensure the company bonus passes. So we're going to start off with an 8. Fire value. Company bonus takes us up to 10. The Bailey Bridge is in a village, so that's -1, so I'm down to 9. The range against an unarmored unit is -0, -1, -2, -3, which takes us down to 6. Defensive value here is +1, so that's a 7. And then I think that's it. I think that's all the modifiers. So 7 or less, dual purpose against unarmored. Oh, one more modifier. He's still in column, so that 7 becomes a 6 for the fire value. And let's see what happens. Ooh, uh-oh. I rolled a 6, dual purpose against unarmored. Oh my gosh. The Bailey Bridge is eliminated. So on the last command point, on the last die roll, the Germans win. I'm amazed. That's pretty crazy. Well, that's kind of a surprise ending. I was not expecting that. I'd been writing in my head the wrap-up I was going to do because I was pretty sure that the Germans were going to lose. They were just too far away, and but again, the last roll, the last turn, the last command point, they pulled it off. So this has been a really interesting scenario. I've now played it 3 or 4 times, and each time I played it, something surprises me. The first time I played it, I was like, oh, the Germans can't win. How can they win? And so then in between plays, I came up with a strategy, and I tried that strategy, and I was like, oh, wow, yeah, the Germans can do this, this, and this, and they can pull it off. And then I did that, played through, and then after that I said, well, wait a minute, the Americans could counter that with this. And so, and then, of course, with this playthrough, it's been, I'd kind of written the Germans off. So, you know, kind of for a post-mortem, a couple things that kind of stood out to me. You know, obviously the Germans do have to get in range and focus only on that Bailey Bridge. They're not really going to have enough units to kind of take on this mass here, so they should focus on attacking the Bailey Bridge. I was really pleased at how bringing up the anti-tank unit worked. That did slow down the Germans a little bit. Not quite enough, obviously, but in my prior playthroughs, they had been out of the game and not really a factor. Yeah, that's the only, obviously some of these other bazooka units in the HQ didn't get in at all. I don't know, didn't really have the command points to make a difference. I'm not quite sure what differently I could have done with them. And then down here in Noonan, I think it's a tougher nut to crack for the Germans than you would think. I mean, obviously one hit here, one step loss here would remove both of these units, but in the 3 or 4 playthroughs I've done, I've never seen that happen. So getting a draw has been difficult. And then even trying to get close with these infantry units, once they get close, they seem to be a really ripe target for the Americans. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what anybody else thinks about this area. So that's wrapping up San with the Win, introductory scenario number 2. I think by now, hopefully you'll have a pretty good handle on some of the core rules, such as movement and direct fire, and the way that the activation chits work. There's still a lot that we haven't covered, and we'll get to that in scenario 3. So things like assaults and formation, activation chits, dispatch points. There's quite a few other things that we'll need to do or we'll need to cover, and I hope you'll stick around to go through that with me. So thanks for watching. Check the comments and leave anything that you have in mind, things that I got wrong. If you've got ideas on strategies, if you've got ideas on how to make the videos more helpful and useful, definitely will be open to that type of feedback. But thanks again for your time.